On track, the men's 100 metres. Well, it's been a pretty special year for the 100 metres. We've got the young European champion, just 20 years of age, Christophe Lemaitre, who improved his best to 9.97 in Rieti just last weekend. And he's up against Daniel Bailey going for the Americas, who's got a best of 9.91 last year. So we may not have the world leaders, but we have got an interesting lineup here. Now it starts in lane 1 with the Australian champion, Aaron Rouge Surrett. Well, he's run 10.17, 22-year-old. Is the #1 man for the Asia-Pacific team. Daniel Bailey represents the Americans, the Antiguan. He's run 10 flat this year, second in the Central American Caribbean. He beat Lemaitre when they first met this year at Saint-Denis, but Bailey only was 8th in Rieti at 10.11, and that's quite a long way back. From this exciting new talent, the triple European gold medalist, ran 9.98 there, and he's improved 9.97 in Rieti. Christophe Lemaitre, therefore the favourite in this event, who goes here in lane 3. World Junior Champion in 2008, European Junior Champion in 2009, and Senior Champion in 2010. In 4, we have Ben Youssef Maïti, the African from the Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, African champion at 100 and second at 200 meters. Lao Yi goes for the Asia-Pacific team. He's the Chinese champion this year, 24-year-old, who hasn't run outside China this year before this race. Ray Edwards runs for the Americas. He was 5th in the US Championships. He's running a lot in Europe, not especially well, I have to say, but he's got a best this year nonetheless of 10 seconds flat. Marc-Louis Francis made a startling return to something approaching his best form when he took the European silver medal. Of course, he was a brilliant junior, world youth champion in 1999 and world junior champion in 2000, but yet to be as quick as he was when he was a youngster. This is perhaps the most experienced man in the field, indeed easily the oldest at 34, as is Zakari, who runs for Africa, the Ghanaian, who took second in this year's African Championships. Twice a non-finisher in Olympic 100-meter finals, and twice last in the World 100-meter finals. A record he'll rather want to put behind him. Did make the final, of course, but didn't excel on those occasions. So the World Cup, or I should say the Continental Cup lineup in this 100 meters, featuring Christophe Lemaitre for Europe, going in lane 3.
Peter, just about Lemaitre quickly, I was really surprised he improved his personal best last week in Rieti. I think for a youngster who has become the first ever white man, let's speak quite frankly, to break 10 seconds. He's had a phenomenal season. I did expect him to stop trailing off after the phenomenal exploits in Barcelona. So superb the way he's maintained his form.
Absolutely. Lemaitre going in lane 3. And this lineup, Rouge Surrett for Asia-Pacific, Bailey for the Americas, Lemaitre for Europe, Maïti for Africa, Lau for China, Edwards for the Americas, Louis Francis for Europe, and Zakari for Africa. Nearest the camera here on the left of the screen. Well, a false start there was... It'll be interesting to see whether they're charged against it. Zakari seemed to stand up straight away, Tim. I don't know if you saw it that, but I think they're already saying it's a faulty start. Well, we'll see.
Well, if it was a faulty start, it was a faulty start. It looked like a false start to me, but it's very hard unless you're down there with your ears cocked for the slightest noise to know exactly what has gone on. Let's hope there is no disqualification.
Zakari, probably the man with the anxious wait here. He's certainly away quickest here, no question about that. Yes, it comes up, disqualification. That's the rule now. If it's not adjudged a faulty start, then just if you get away before the .100, and he clearly did, then you are out. So it looks like Africa will lose their points here, and Zakari's unfortunate record in major championships continues.
Europe, 7 runners go. Dyskwalifikacja za predstavnika Afrike iz Gane, Aziza Zakaria.
So the runners preparing to take to their blocks for the second time now in the 100 meters. The man who was due to run in lane 8, Aziz Zakari of Africa, the Ghanaian, has been disqualified. So we have Ruud Serret for Oceania, Bailey for the Americas, Lemaitre for Europe, Meiti for Africa, Lau for China, Edwards the Americas, Lewis Francis for Europe. 7-man field in the 100 meters. With the favourites, Lemaitre in 3 and Daniel Bailey on his left-hand side in lane 2. Second time of asking in the 100 meters, and they get away cleanly this time. Bailey is probably ahead of Lemaitre at this stage, and it's still Bailey for the Americans. But here comes Lemaitre with his brilliant finish, and Lewis Francis as well. And Lemaitre has taken it from Bailey with Lewis Francis in third. The time not so special, 10:08. Lemaitre flatters, he deceives us to some extent to start with, but he finishes well. And Lewis Francis had a good run here for Europe as well. Good points, it looks, Tim, for the European runners at 100 meters.
Yes, isn't it? A shifting of the powers. What do you expect the Europeans up against the Americans to take first and third? Where were all the great American sprinters? Where were all the Jamaicans? Where are all the rest of the Caribbeans? Fantastic result for Europe, that 10.06 for Lemaitre. He was, I guess, the pre-race favourite, but he had to work for it. He didn't get a particularly good start. He wins there by what? 10, 15 centimetres, 10.06 to 10.10. It was a pretty small margin in the finish. He didn't get a good start. Lots of small steps from Lemaitre. I still think he's got a much bigger future at 200 than at 100, but he runs down Bailey here by about 80 metres. Bailey puts up a stout resistance, I have to say. Lewis Francis a metre and a half further down with Ray Edwards, I think, in fourth. That is a good run from Mark Lewis Francis. 10.16, Peter, a season's best in third.
Yes, Lewis Francis has the ability to peak well for the major races. Don't deny him that. But this is good points for Europe. They were favourites to take this title, but I think they've got more points here than would have been expected on the 100 metres. And Lemaitre has this beautiful finish. He doesn't panic when he's half a metre down, as he was there on Daniel Bailey, and he comes through the field to win at the conclusion. Yes, the top Americans weren't here, but Bailey's a pretty good representative. And Edwards, well, you don't get bad sprinters coming out of the American finalists, but it's Europe 1 and 3, and the Americas 2 and 4. Valuable points to the Europeans in their challenge to the Americas. The lead's been swapping around after various events here, and Christophe Lemaitre shows just why he is such an exciting new talent.